Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the Daily Debate. My name is Ahmed Nader and tonight we'll be focusing on the first episode of 2023 from the Daily Debate on the presidential activities of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi in the past week, most recently attending the differently abled celebrations as we did see in the past week. And of course the top stories from today and the activities of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and the meetings that took place with Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli, the Minister of Electricity Mohammed Sheikher, as well as several officials to be taking care regarding a number of fields in the country. One of them is agriculture, education, electricity, and of course, as I said, the differently abled celebration that took place in the past week. And I'm honored to be having with me over the program for tonight for the first time in 2023, Engineer Hassan Shabaan, the political analyst and the former Vice President of the Farmers Syndicate. Thank you very much for being with us tonight. Happy New Year and Merry Christmas.
Thank you very much for inviting me. Appreciate it.
Anytime. First of all, we'll be starting with the top stories from the first day of the year, the presidential activities on Sunday. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi held a meeting on Sunday with the Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli, the Minister of Planning Hala Al-Saeed, General Abbas Kamel, the head of the intelligence agency, and Ayman Sulaiman, the executive director of the Sovereign Fund of Egypt. Presidential spokesperson Ambassador Bassam Radi said that the meeting followed up on the activities of the fund to increase the direct and the indirect investments with the aim of boosting the national economy. The head of state was briefed on the efforts exerted by the fund since its establishment, as it attracted about 43% of the direct foreign investments, with 14 projects worth £37 billion, focusing on the vital sectors of the national economy, especially the green hydrogen, water desalination and education. Radi added that the meeting also reviewed the steps taken to make the best use of the governmental buildings and the assets, which will be evacuated in preparations for the state's employees' move to the new administrative capital. Meanwhile, the president discussed with the executives the propagating program the fund is to launch in a number of European and Gulf countries, seeking the investment opportunities in Egypt to boost the state's investment map, in addition to the fund's priorities of holding projects in the fields of digital transformation and monetary services. The head of state also gave his directives to focus on localizing industry in different domains, especially the pharmaceutical industries, vaccines, renewable energy, as well as the other promising sectors, namely land reclamation and the petrochemicals. Engineer Hassan Shabaan, first of all, I would like to ask about the Sovereign Fund of Egypt. How do you see the importance of such an institution, as we did see a number of roles that could be taken up in 2023 for the fund?
Well, the Sovereign Fund actually is very important at this particular stage, actually. It's a transition period. I mean, the government is trying to boost the economy, and the sovereign funds is important to supply certain sectors with the required funds, and it allows the private sector later on to take over any investment by that was made by the sovereign fund box. As a farmer, I would like to see some projects financed by the sovereign funds, mainly in the fertilizer section, yes, and coordinate between the oil and gas sector and the industry, where we can produce the required fertilizers for the farmers. Yes. And this will give a chance to the regular farmer in his field to contribute to these projects, actually own his own factory that produces the necessary fertilizer, the urea and nitrates required for the forage. For instance, I'm using this as an example. So the sovereignty fund box is important as a temporary phase till you establish a certain project, and then the private sector could take over from the sovereignty fund box.
Yes.
There is a lot of projects that could use the funds available in the box, but I think in the coming period these funds will be allocated for industry and agriculture mainly.
Yes, one of the topics discussed on Sunday between His Excellency President Al-Sisi and the officials that were gathered today is how to be getting more foreign investments, foreign direct and indirect investments into the Egyptian economy to be boosting it. How do you think this could be happening in this year?
Well, there is a lot of chances, for the foreign investors in Egypt, providing that the laws and the regulations, the governmental regulations, will actually be massaged for the coming period, so you can attract the foreign investors. I think the government is doing its best, issuing the golden license and similar formulas to attract investors. But I think in the coming year or so, the investors will actually approach Egypt again after the COVID-19 is over, and hopefully the war environment between Russia and Ukraine will actually make the European investors move toward the south of the Mediterranean, especially Egypt, to invest in Egypt, because banks in Europe will not find a chance to invest in Europe in this particular period.
The fund said, the officials from the fund, they said that they attracted about 43% of the total foreign direct investments that had come into Egypt in the past period in about 14 projects and worth about 37 billion Egyptian pounds in the fields of education, green hydrogen and water desalination. I would like to focus with you on the water desalination because it is important for agriculture and land reclamation, and the green hydrogen, could it be used in agriculture for the future or not?
Definitely. Green hydrogen actually will be utilized in a lot of fields in the future, providing that we could reach a good amount of production. But let me illustrate on the water desalination.
Yes.
Of course, we depend solely on the River Nile in agriculture and in drinking water. So we cannot afford the luxury of wasting a drop of water. So the government have a very ambitious program to desalinate all the wasted water actually, yes, and use it again, whether in agriculture or as a drinking water, because science have reached very high levels in desalinating sewage water. So
yes,
it's just a pure water as if you're using it for the first time. So I think we have a target to at least desalinate at least 2 billion cubic meters of water actually.
On the other hand, one of the main topics as well is moving a number of employees to the new administrative capital. How do you see the importance of building a new capital? Because we have had the idea for several years, but it seems to be the idea is going from the dream stage to the reality stage now.
Well, definitely the new capital is a reality. There is no doubt about that. Also, the Galala is in the very close to it with a resort, and it's almost a city. And you have Sukna close by, and hopefully 60 kilometers away from the new capital, you have Fayed on the Bitter Lakes, and this could be a summer resort actually for the new capital. So this area is integrating to form a population attraction. Of course, this serves the purpose of redistributing the population in Egypt, actually. We have very condensed population in the delta and the valley, and we're trying to redistribute the population of Egypt all over the 1 million square kilometers. So simply, if you divide the total number of our population over the area, you will find that actually you have 1,000 person per square kilometer. So actually, what we need actually is an ambitious program to attract the young people, especially young people, to live in the new communities constructed outside the valley and the delta, close to the reclaimed areas, like in the Reef Al Masri. We're adding 1.5 million faddans to the existing agro land, and this actually will offer a great chance to establish a number of villages along the area that we are cultivating. Hopefully, the activities in this area will be split between agriculture and industry to reduce the amount of transportation, because we should grow crops that could be utilized as a raw material for the industries that we're going to have close by. Yes. So you're going to have a community that deals with the agriculture and another community next to it that deals with industry.
Complementing each other.
Exactly. And hopefully the crops that will be produced in this area and the industrial products could be allocated for exporting it to other countries, or to block a certain seepage of the hard currency that we use to import such products. I hope to see in the near future areas cultivated with a substitute of the sugarcane crops, because sugarcane actually consumes a lot of water. So actually, if we grow a substitute crop like the stevia, which is not a very hungry plant for water, but it produces a very high quality and a high percentage of sweetness, and we could actually construct next to it a plant that actually produces the stevia sugar. This will block a great amount of seepage in our importing sugar from abroad. So I think there should be a program in the near future, cooperation between the Ministry of Industry, Agriculture, and of course, this will lead to saving a lot of hard currency that we are in need of right now.
The redistribution of population, a very important point that you've mentioned. Do you think that we have succeeded in this in the past few years, maybe since 2014, because President Al-Sisi has a vision of building new communities, building new cities, a new capital, as we did see maybe in Al-Alamein, New Alamein city, because it is not just for the summer, it is for the summer,
it's
for the
whole
winter,
year,
yes, for the whole year.
Right.
New Mansoura, most recently, the new capital. Do you think that we are succeeding in doing this?
So far, we are addressing this to a certain area in the Egyptian community. What I'm referring to is the peasant and farmer sector. Actually, farmers really do not really require luxurious houses or anything. They require very simple houses, 2-bedroom houses, or with a kitchen and a bathroom, and this will do. Very simple houses, 1-story houses, scattered all over, the desert, Western Desert, for instance.
Yes.
This will encourage young people who are starting a new life, newly married, and they could be trained during the military service on certain activities in regard of agriculture, for instance.
Yes.
And then they will be allowed to work in a mega company that actually grow these certain crops, as I mentioned, like the stevia, and next to it is a plant that produces the final product of the. For instance, I'm using this as
Yes.
as an example, actually, not. But I think, I hope, as a farmer, to see simple houses outside the valley and the delta, in the areas we're gonna cultivate. Young people who are eager to get married and they have very limited resources will appreciate very much living in simple houses.
Yes.
If the government will allow them to live in these houses, they will appreciate it very much. Have a system to allow the young people to have a share in a mega company where they work for a salary, but again, in the end of the year, they get part of the profits.
Like a bonus.
But, exactly. It's a different system, but again, it urges young people to move from the original villages in the delta and the valley to outside the delta. I believe in twin villages.
Yes.
Like if you have a village in the delta, you could have a twin village, new.
Mansoura, New Mansoura.
Exactly.
Ismailia, New
Right,
Ismailia.
right. And I would like to see the government allocate land in the desert for the governments that do not have deserts to reclaim or to cultivate, especially in the delta. You have certain governors that do not have really deserts
Yes.
to cultivate. So you just allocate a big area, big enough to for this governorate to have a plan to move a lot of their farmers to this particular area and start an extension for this government. And have a challenge between the governorates who will be able to feed himself, who will be able to be independent, who will be able to produce more taxes as an income to the government. You need to create some competition between the governorates who will grow more wheat, who will grow more corn. So actually, you need to enhance this feeling of sense of challenge between the governors.
Could be changing the mindset as well of the
Exactly. This is
Egyptians.
to change the
Yes.
culture itself. Yes.
Yes. Turning to the second piece of news, and the second top story for Sunday comes through the presidential activities as well of President Abdel Fattah Al-Sisi, as President Al-Sisi held another meeting reviewing the required funds of the electric supply to the land reclamation projects nationwide, as expanding the agricultural land area and building new communities are of vital importance in the state strategy of comprehensive development plan. The meeting was attended by the Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli, Minister of Electricity Dr. Mohammed Shakir, Head of the Armed Forces Engineering Authority Major General Ahmed Al-Azazi, and Head of the Monetary Affairs of the Armed Forces Major General Ahmed Al-Shadli. Presidential spokesperson Ambassador Bassam Radi said that the meeting also discussed the executive situation of the security of the electric supply of the land reclamation projects in Sharq Al-Uwaynat, Upper Egypt provinces, the Delta and Sinai, especially fixing the required final electric capacities, connection lines and locating the high voltage stations. Engineer Hassan Shabaan, as we did see during the meeting, land reclamation is connected to the electricity supply,
yes,
and connected to building new communities all at the same time. How do you see the importance of such a meeting on the first day of the year?
Well, I think we actually managed in the few years, if we look back at what happened in the last 2-3 years, we will realize that we have reached a stage where we're going to have to adopt a new philosophy. Electricity means life in the desert. Once you actually produce electricity, you will be able to drill wells and come up with water. You will be able to attract life to these remote areas.
Yes.
So electricity means life. So I think all of the areas that you've mentioned are very promising areas.
Yes.
The Sharq Al-Uwaynat, Tushka, all of these areas are very promising. The quality and the kind of soil allows us to grow a lot of crops. And I think we will have a good chance to attract young people to go and participate in the activities over there, providing that we have a system that will be attractive to them to leave their own villages that they grow in. Because actually, part of the problem that we had in the Delta and the Valley is that the young people are very attached to their families, and they will actually just violate the rules and construct houses on the fertile land that we are trying to protect, which is the very valuable soil to our country. So once we give them a chance to move to new villages and offer them jobs, you're going to work in agriculture, and you're going to be trained, and you're going to have a house. You will be able to have to create a family. The crop that you're going to grow is already being contracted or will be sold to a factory next.
Assurances for
the
him.
whole thing. So you choose to put life to the new highways that we're constructing. For instance, the Dab'a highway, that this is a magnificent road, but again, we need to attract a lot of the young people to live around this area, to utilize this highway to their benefit, to transport the final products through this highway. All of these things will be, in the coming couple of years, the main issue for the government to review, actually.
What is the importance of providing electricity for agriculture and land reclamation? Because we did see in the 1980s and 90s, electricity wasn't that much there in the places of agriculture.
See, today's agriculture actually depends very much on electricity, because mainly the irrigation system, actually, the modern irrigation system. Also, the type of water sources. We mainly depend on wells, and especially deep wells will require good, stable supply of electricity. Without that, you will not be able to produce the amount of water required to irrigate your land. So electricity means life. Once you have electricity, you have a very good chance to carry out all your programs actually, providing utilize it in a most economical way, because electricity is no longer a cheap product. It is an expensive product. But
Yes.
again, you're going to have to analyze the economy of your products actually. But electricity means life. Without electricity, you will not be able to actually fulfill any of your dreams in land reclamation.
The meeting was focused on Upper Egypt, for example, Sharq al-Uwaynat, the Delta, and Sinai. I would like to ask about Upper Egypt, because we're not used to hearing about land reclamation and agriculture in Upper Egypt. Do you think this is a challenge for the Egyptian state?
Definitely. From the borders between us and Sudan all the way to Farafra, it's a very promising area. Tushka now it is a successful project.
Yes.
A lot of criticism was made in the past to Tushka, but due to certain environmental changes, we managed to create a life over there, because the Tushka canal that was dug by the army in this particular area was like a relief from any threat that could impose a threat to the Aswan Dam.
Yes.
So a lot of projects are carried out over there in this particular area, and I think we should utilize this area in its best way. I would like to add one more little thing. The people in Nuba, in this particular area, are very clever in cattle growing and camel growing. I like to enhance that we could actually create man-made meadows in this particular area. The man-made meadows will actually consume 1/4 of the regular water that we use for regular crops. So you could have a new type of cattle growing, open cattle growing in this particular, camels or cow in this particular areas. So you will create a lot of jobs, opportunities for the people in Nuba. Also, you will increase the size of the cattle growth in Egypt, which you really need, instead of importing cattle all the time from Africa, from Sudan or from Ethiopia or from Kenya, whatever. So I think the area from the high dam lake all the way to Uwaynat, to Tushka, all of this area will be a stage for a lot of activities in the future, and I think it will be, will carry out a lot of good for Egypt.
Yes, we will be turning to the first report of the daily debate for tonight, which is President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi gave his instructions and directives to be empowering and integrating the differently abled Egyptian citizens within the community and the Egyptian society. We have more details in the upcoming report, so stay tuned.
President Fattah al-Sisi directs government to implement immediate steps to empower differently abled Egyptians. President Fattah al-Sisi directed various ministries to implement immediate plans to empower more than 20 million differently abled Egyptians in order to allow them to participate effectively in society. The President's directives came during celebration for the differently abled in an annual event that has been held for the past 4 years to support people with special needs, who are estimated to be around 20 million. During the event, the President announced the establishment of a fund for differently abled people, instructing 5 different state funds to support the new fund at a total of 1 billion Egyptian pounds. As per the President's directives, the Armed Forces Fund will contribute 500 million Egyptian pounds to the new fund. The Ministry of Housing Fund will contribute 200 million Egyptian pounds. The Suez Canal Fund, the Honoring of Martyrs Fund, and the Healthcare Fund will each contribute 100 million Egyptian pounds. The President also ordered all concerned bodies to continue working on enhancing programs and plans to integrate differently abled people in all national projects and initiatives. This year's celebration was held under the slogan, "We have a place." Documentary was screened during the ceremony to celebrate the achievements of Egyptian differently able athletes in both Arab and international tournaments. The Differently Abled Fund, which was established in 2020 as part of a series of measures to integrate differently abled people in the community and improve their standards of living, has set up 20 service centers nationwide. The President tasked Ministry of Social Solidarity with ensuring that all people with special needs receive an integrated card that provides them with basic health care services and with social and other services. Sisi also directed the Ministry of Youth and Sports to provide memberships to special needs individuals at youth innovation and learning centers. Al-Sisi also instructed the Ministry of Housing to allot a quota in its projects to persons with special needs. The President also charged the Ministry of Transport with guaranteeing persons with special needs accessibility in all ongoing national projects as roads, bridges, tunnels, metro stations, and monorails. Furthermore, Sisi assigned Education, Youth, and Social Solidarity Ministries to launch the Companions of the Differently Abled initiative in schools, universities, youth centers, clubs, car homes, and other entities.
Welcome back. You're still watching the Daily Debate. The main topic for tonight, the differently abled Egyptian citizens and the celebration that took place in Engineer Hassan Shabaan for the 4th year in a row under the auspices of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and the attendance of His Excellency, as well as we did see a song integrating Hussein al-Jasmi of the United Arab Emirates and other differently abled young men and young women. How do you see the importance of celebrating these potentials?
Well, I have to raise my hat actually, and just I respect what I've just seen. You know, the differently abled young men who are really, the government is taking excellent care of this part of the community. And I'm very proud of what we're doing, very human actually. And I think the government should shade more light on its activities toward this group of people in our community, and what are the chances that they are offering for education, health, and in the future jobs for them, that actually the law gives them a chance, a percentage in each organization to have a chance to work. Yes. And I think definitely what we've just seen, there is a lot of talents hidden between these young people. So I think I have to salute the government for these activities. It's very impressive, actually.
There are talents, but what about the encouragement that we just saw, to be singing in front of the president with an icon of songs like Hussein al-Jasmi as well at the same time? This is encouragement for those young men and young women to be looking brightly for the future. So the government is focusing not just on building cities, on building a new capital, on building roads and bridges, building the Egyptian society as well, and the Egyptian identity.
Exactly, building confidence. Actually, we're giving a chance to a sector of the Egyptians who were neglected in the past. Actually, I think what we've seen actually is very appreciated attitude from the government toward this sector of differently abled young men.
We did see during the celebration as well, one of the young men from the differently abled Egyptian citizens, he asked to be playing for Al-Ahli. And President Al-Sisi, he came up and said that the head or the president of Al-Ahli club, Mr. Mahmoud Al-Khatib, should be meeting up with him and adopting him as a player for Al-Ahli. And this happened. So dreams are coming through as well for them. What does this say about the human side of the political leadership?
Definitely there is a human touch in a lot of the things that the president and the government are doing. We're not really neglecting anybody anymore, especially the differently abled people and the elderly people. I think there is a big budget allocated for these two elements in the community. And I think from now on, this will be an attitude that all the coming future governments in Egypt will have to respect and adopt, actually.
Yes, we will be turning to the second report of the daily debate for tonight, which is a 5-point plan outlined by President Al-Sisi regarding the integration and the empowerment of the differently abled Egyptian citizens within the Egyptian society. We will be taking a quick look on it in the upcoming report, so stay tuned.
Last year, during the celebration of Differently Abled People 2021, President Fattah al-Sisi announced a 5-point strategy and establishment of Differently Abled Fund for People with Determination. The President directed all relevant apparatuses in the state to work on developing more plans and programs and to take the necessary executive measures that aims to empower people of determination and integrate them in all national projects and initiatives executed by the state. The celebration coincides with the International Day of Persons with Disabilities, which the UN has been celebrating since 1992 to drum up support for this segment of society, to ensure their rights and raise public awareness on the importance of merging them into political, economic, and cultural life. The 5-point strategy includes providing special programs and activities to people with determination by all sports and youth bodies in order to improve their physical fitness and sports skills. directing the government to work on empowering people of determination and integrating them in all national projects and initiatives. All implemented projects of Decent Life Initiative will include services and special needs for people with determination. The state's bodies were ordered to expand the training of teachers to be more skillful in dealing with people with determination. The artistic and cultural production sectors were ordered to produce dramatic and cultural works that highlight capabilities and creativity of people with determination. Around 5% of children aged 5 to 17 suffer from different types of disability in their day-to-day life. Research on the inclusion of differently able children in public schools indicate that included students develop stronger skills in reading and mathematics, have higher attendance rates, less behavioral problems, and are more likely to complete secondary school than students who have not been included. As adults, included children are more likely to be enrolled in post-secondary education and to be employed. In 2008, the Ministry of Education and Technical Education issued a decree for integration of children with mild disabilities in the mainstream schools in 2009. UNICEF and the MOETE have jointly developed a model for inclusive education that addresses the individual needs of the differently abled as an initiative to improve access to quality inclusive education for children with mild disabilities in the public primary schools.
Welcome back. You're still watching the Daily Debate. Engineer Hassan Shabaan. Finally, my final question is the 5-point plan that we just saw a report on by the directives made by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi for the differently abled Egyptian citizens. One point of them was focusing on sports. The
Yes.
other one was culture. And the education. The education is very important because it focuses on the teacher, how to be dealing with the differently abled citizens. How do you see the importance of those 3 points?
Well, actually, that was in the very close past, actually. Nobody really paid any attention to these things.
Yes.
The differently abled sector of the community have a chance now, if you have a talent or you're in sports, you could add something. Especially there is special championships for the differently abled young people in like an Olympic things. So actually, you're encouraging them to contribute to sports. Education, now you're training teachers to be able to deal with the differently abled and morally and psychiatrically you're going to have a different way of dealing with them. And in the end, I think the government actually is paying a lot of attention to this sector of community, and this is very much appreciated.
Yes, Engineer Hassan Shabaan, the political analyst. Thank you very much for being with us tonight on the Daily Debate, and Happy New Year.
Thank you. Same to you. Thank you.
Bye. This brings us to the end of the Daily Debate for tonight, the first of 2023. I will be leaving you, however, with the main activities of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi in the past week. So stay tuned for the upcoming report. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi is briefed by the Minister of Housing on the results of the recent visit of the Egyptian ministerial delegation to Tanzania regarding the Julius Nyerere Dam. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi inaugurates the medical and the industrial gases production plants and the power generation station in the chemical industries complex in Abu Rawash, the Giza Governorate. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi is following up on the development of the port system at the level of the Republic. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi attends the Differently Abled celebration at Al Manara Conference Center in New Cairo. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi meets with Major General Ahmed Al-Azzazi, head of the Engineering Authority of the Armed Forces, to follow up on the executive position and the timeline for the authority's projects at the level of the Republic. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi reviews the projects of the Arab International Optronics in the field of optics and the electronics technology and their applications in the defense systems.